you've mentioned here that the intent is to be a drug rehabilitation center. However, the approval by the appeals folks is for a group home facility. Now, is that a typo, or is the designation going to be for a group home facility or a drug rehabilitation?
You will find that under the Board of Appeals approval in case number B1309, that the board found that the proposed use is consistent with the intent and purpose of the comprehensive development plan and of the zoning ordinance in the adaptive reuse of a historic structure and site as a group home for an alcohol and drug treatment facility.
And is that defined by, and this is where I brought to the attention of council, and I don't know if it's true or not in terms of the COMAR, that drug rehabilitation may be prohibited underneath a group home facility according to COMAR regulations.
It was the finding of the zoning administrator of Frederick County that this facility met the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
And I don't mind grabbing that. It is the document that I gave you, counsel. Was that inaccurate, or? Well, and that was from the COMAR site from the state of Maryland.
Yeah, that is a definition that you handed it to me just as we came into the meeting this evening, and I hate to interrupt your time here, but you've got the clock up.
Time doesn't continue to go up.
But that is a definition in COMAR, which is the Code of Maryland Regulations, that applies to a certain kind of group home. But there's at least a half a dozen different definitions of group home in the state law. I was looking, earlier in the meeting to see how many different definitions there might be. And none of those definitions, by the way, are binding for purposes of the county's zoning ordinance. This is where the law enters into the Alice in Wonderland realm of you got different definitions for the same term in different places, and so the same term, like group home, might mean a different thing in the state law, in the state regulations under COMAR than it does in the county zoning ordinance. And we actually have a specific definition of group home in the county zoning ordinance, which provides that actually there's a definition for small group home and large group home, but they're very similar. And it's a residence that houses individuals who require specialized living arrangements and provides health services and supervision to those individuals. And I think, Dennis, you may need to help me out here. Has Larry looked at this? Has the zoning administrator looked at this?
For purposes of the, okay. Yeah, we did two things. He determined that the existing use as a rustic retreat and camp was a pre-existing non-conforming use. That was the first step. And then through the Board of Appeals decision, kind of sculpted that first condition, which specifically calls out the fact that this would be a use that had been considered during the special exception, and it would be in keeping with the, what does it say, the specific wording is consistent with the intent and purpose of the comprehensive plan and the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, so under the county zoning ordinance, it's the zoning administrator, Larry Smith, who makes those types of determinations, and I guess he's made that determination that this use would be consistent with the definition of group home in the zoning ordinance. So the determination today is going to be whether you think this qualifies to be listed on the historic register.